This is the system chosen 2-to-1 over Atari and Intellivision for real arcade gameplay.
The Vectrex. This is perhaps the most critically acclaimed of the so-called failed consoles, and it was a victim of timing rather than ability. You see, this was the last console to be released of the second generation consoles. It was put out at the end of 1982 in the US and 1983 in Europe. That second year is important, as that's when the great video games crash happened. To put it in numbers, when gaming revenue fell 97% in 2 years, shrinking from 3.2 billion of 1980s money to 100 million. The Vectrex was the first home-based system to use a vector-based screen, and that's because it was the only system to ever do so. The 9x11 vector drawing cathode ray tube is literally an off-the-shelf model for a black and white television set. For the time, it was mind-blowing in the home to have this, but even though it does seem really complicated, the off-the-shelf parts and the fact that it's a square box with a fucking wire coming out of it, this had an exceptionally short turnaround time from being conceived to basically being out there on the shelf. To achieve some sort of quasi-colour from the Monochrome Display, what you got was these plastic overlays that you stuck on and they come with the game. Every Vectrex that I've seen in the wild now is missing these, but this is what it looked like with them on. Monochrome aside, as it also had an analog joystick and the vector-based graphics, it allowed the arcade games of the time to be ported pretty well, pretty faithful conversions of basically everything that was in the arcade and doing well at the time. However, for modern times, that analog joystick is basically the bane of this console. They are whack. Every single one I've seen has just been falling left and right really badly. They really are probably the crappiest joystick on on these retro machines. The problem we've also got is if you go on eBay to go and buy one now, they are mental money. In fact, you can probably get the base console without a joystick in good working order for cheaper than you can get just a joystick. It just makes actually using them now just a bit shit. It's a nice thing to have and a nice thing to own, but it's not great to use. Surprisingly, the Vectrex was also the first home system to offer a 3D headset in the form of the Vectrex 3D Imager. I have never seen one, and they are otherworldly money, and I can only imagine how shit it would look comparing it to today, but that's an absolute banger for 1984. It's got just over about 30 odd titles. And unless you like having things and completing a collection, what's good for you is that the software is available fee-free or royalty-free, and the original head of engineering has allowed duplication of the software on a not-for-profit basis. So this is to allow Vectrex owners to have all the original titles and play them. Some of the older consoles which we've looked at before on this channel have been woeful. Absolutely hated them. This is not one of them. The Vectrex is wicked, well before its time, and a victim of everyone else's mistakes. Get one, you'll always have something to look at. Not necessarily play, because as we've said, it's got the shittest controller. But it's nice on the shelf where someone says, "Hey, what's that?" And you go, "Oh, a Vectrex, don't worry about it. It's only the first vector graphics home console." Where have you been? Get your head out the sand, you dickhead.